Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we show you another match of the Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup. This is a match from round 2, Diego Armando versus Windfox. Commentators for this will be Leslie Pro 04 and Mayendiam. Say hello.
Hello, ZSR. I hope you're looking forward to a heck of a match because the game one between these two was absolute fire. It came down to an unfortunate gain death from Windfox, and the result was 24 seconds in favor of Diego Armando, who, if he wins this, moves on. Windfox needs this one to force a Game 3.
And hopefully they're going to show us everything that they showed us in Game 1. We will take absolutely more of that. Yes, please.
Oh yeah, because I love it when Rando is close. And I'm Leslie Pro, by the way. Hope everyone's having a good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, doesn't matter.
So while we wait for our runners to get underway, what do you think we're going to get out of the early game here? You know, Uncle has to give us some kind of a random weapon. It's still standard, even though it's not hard mode.
So for those wondering, with it being normal mode, you'll see the full item pool in play here. Well, not quarter magic, thankfully. Oh, wait. That would make things too easy, so... Hey, let's have some fun. I mean, for all we know... Yes, something random just came up called a randomizer race. Or we can just have whatever that random weapon be, basically a moot point, because we start with a sword. It's worth noting that you're still not able to swing it until you get to Uncle. It's a check that's in place.
Interestingly enough, if you have the boots in that situation, as in casual boots, you can dash through bushes and the game will still treat it as though you have an active sword. But yeah, slashing is right out until you talk to Uncle here.
And it's a can of Burna opening, but we already got a sword, so thanks, Uncle, we're good. Now, interestingly enough, had Uncle given you a sword there, you'd be starting with Master Sword, and that would be insane.
Yeah, you know, sometimes the seed just wants to send you those agon noises bright and early. Not the case this time, but it wouldn't be the first time I'd seen it.
Wouldn't be the last either, and I can tell you the best seed that I've had, which ironically was in the tiebreaker. I swear, it's the second year in a row that that's happened, where I PB in a tiebreaker to get into the bracket stage. That happened last year where I broke sub 90, and then this year it happens again where I come close to sub 80. So yeah, great time for a PB. But what we're going to be seeing from our runners as a result of the early sword, NMG-style strats.
Yeah, you expect that it's something that a lot of runners are comfortable with. You know, even if they're not actually NMG runners, if you play enough casual boots, you've got the sword in the escape sequence pretty regularly. Can't imagine that either of them are going to show us anything really surprising or unexpected here.
And the map is in the boomerang chest.
I expect that our runners might have been happier to just see the boomerang in the boomerang chest, but the map does have to show up somewhere. Getting the NMG-style slash strats from Diego Armando there on the ball and chain guard. Windfox going to kind of mix in that first pot throw to have to do 4 slashes instead.
Yep, those pots do the same amount of damage as a tempered sword or a hammer.
With the added convenience of being able to throw them from outside the ball and chain guard's range. Definitely works as a safety strat.
Yep, and it's also the better way of doing it when you have Cane of Burner without sword, because that cane burns through magic relatively quick, and it really limits where you can farm for bombs. And so far, neither runner has gone crazy trying to get the drops off the guards, but here's a good spot to try, but, well, Diego's not going for it. Well, Windfox, no. Although it might have been faster, just thrown a pot at one of the guards just to knock him out of the way. More ways than one.
Yeah, if you're gonna pick the pot up to get the heart anyway, there's really no time lost when the guards are near the top of the room like that to go ahead and make that chance at checking the prize.
I guess both runners are going to try their luck with the ropes and the rats.
Yeah, it's nice with the sword. You can walk down here, hope that 3 or 4 of these snakes clump up for you and just spin them once and get decent odds of have something show up, but Diego doesn't seem to be having any of it. Just knocks the one out of his way and goes right on.
Knocks the second one out of his way, which drops a recovery heart. Dark Cross being 20 rupees means, time's running out. Our runners are either going to have to get bombs or they'll be coming back, which would not be fun.
And rats appear to be in the rupee pool. That looked like a 5 rupee drop off that first rat killed, and yeah, green rupee off of another one, so rats are not going to have bombs here. Now, one of the perks of standard mode, if you can call it that, is that you will maintain your light cone in the dark portion of the escape even when you no longer have Zelda with you, so if there happens to be a glove tucked away back there that our runners have to run back through the escape sequence to get, they will have the light cone available.
That is a nice one.
And Diego out into the sanctuary at 5 minutes 52. Windfox hot on his heels. Looks like this will be about a 5:57.
No map check from Diego. Windfox will give us one, and we have Vanilla Pendants at Eastern and Hera with a 5/6 crystal at the desert. So for Dark World, we're gonna need just about everything but the kitchen sink.
Well, given the way Rando goes, you may as well go ahead and start looking for the kitchen sink, too.
Getting no help from the bug or the tree pool. Well, we've got an early Aga check from both runners, which is gonna be a big 20, so Lumberjack tree is not needed, so for now, Aga 1 is off the table. And hopefully it stays that way.
It's a nice little piece of mind check, particularly if you're wanting to make both a tier 2 and a tier 1 tree pull while you're in the general area.
So the mushroom spot is a piece of heart that's growing in its place. And 20 rupees down the hole at the Hidden Thieves' Den.
Diego wants it, and Windfox walks right into it. I wondered if either of our runners might try to skirt around the side of it on the thought that it might have just been sticks or a fiver or something, but no, we see them both go for it, which, when you're not at bottle vendor money yet, is kind of nice.
Well, they're at bomb money, which is going to be the next big thing that it gets purchased, because right now this is a south to north Kakariko. No bombs, that's might as well be the way you do it, especially if you got the money for it. If you don't, I could see a gamble being taken, realistically. Would it have paid off? knows, but well, here's some extra money to make that bomb purchase for you.
Here's the money, buy your own bombs. You know, sometimes the seed is just talking to you.
Or sometimes the seed's just flipping you off. We'll get into that later.
Well, that's a common rando occurrence. Diego going to be the first into the chicken shack here, a little old place where you can get one item. Shock and amazement, spin to bomb, get 3.
And no attempts at a bird clip either, which you can get a few things that'll happen that'll mess you up, so to speak. And we're getting divergence here as we've got Diego going for the Thieves' Hideout, or Blind's Hideout as it's known, while Windfox is diving down the well, which has the book. On the Blind's Hideout having a moon pearl. We found one Greg. While Windfox comes up with a bottle, bombos, and arrows, while Diego comes up with a rupee hoard. That's nice.
Yeah, that'll put you 3/5 of the way to Zora money all by itself.
A fire rod from the bottle vendor. Nice.
Certainly not going to be turning that down.
Yeah, you could say the bottle vendor was dealing in some hot goods today.
I have to wonder where in his travels he came across that thing.
Hard to say, but now both runners will be able to circle back for Sick Kid.
It seems likely they'll be going out the south of the village anyway, so it's on their way.
It looks like just from a routing perspective, Diego seemed to have gained a few seconds there. And that was an odd turn from Windfox. That might have been a creature of habit routing setting in there. It happens to you on these randos from time to time.
Yeah, that definitely looked like muscle memory. I'm coming out of all the 5 checked northern chests in the Kakariko village. Now I have to check the chicken shack. Except you had to buy bombs, so you'd already checked the chicken shack.
Diego opting to check the race game directly. Windfox is going to take a look from the side. This could swing things one way or another. And it being 3 bombs is going to have Windfox coming out a little bit ahead on this exchange. I can see why Diego made that play, because there was some level of progression coming out of Kakariko, but not as much as you would typically see. I mean, don't get me wrong, Book into Desert's great, but you still need a glove to be able to finish the dungeon, and it could be boot slots. So, we'll see how our runners play this.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where it was not the lightest village that I've ever seen, but there were few enough things in there that I think you can justify the gamble on Diego's side.
Although if we're talking a book opening up desert, that also puts you in the area of Agina. So if Agina has anything, it lessens the sting of a dirty Agina.
In a situation like this with early book but without the glove and the boots, generally I like to go ahead and make this play that Windfox is making, head towards Mini Moldorm and Ice Rod Cave, because I can chain that Agina check in with the desert check later, hopefully with the items that you actually need to do it. Without the early book, I kind of like to go damn Agina just to prevent exactly what you were talking about there, Leslie, with the getting skunked by that Sphere 1 location that's a little bit out of the way most times.
Looks like we got a Mini Moldorm that was trying to feather the gap across. on Windfox's side, but it retreated. Uh-oh. Diego's got to be careful here, because a fall or a bop, and it's a death. We got a Master Sword in the back of Mini Moldorm Cave, along with a hook shot. Nice stuff, but we don't have Death Mountain access just yet.
Well, from the look of it, we're a whole lot closer to Dark World access via AGA than we are actual, mountain or other Dark World access. So we'll see what the rest of the seed wants to throw at them, but really our density play at this point is over to the eastern area.
And there are runners of this rando that will not do early Eastern.
Well, when your option is early Eastern or lampless AGA, the early Eastern play gets a little more reasonable, even in the minds of people who normally like to put it off.
And there is our 10 bomb in Ice Rod Cave. Now, the reason the 10 bomb exists is for standard random weapon seeds, as we've got a stun prize being farmed, and it is one that is worth being farmed, the Big 20, as this is a great way to grind up money for not only Scam King, but to also ensure you got money for pod, potions, you name it, it's worth it. And speaking of heading to Zora, or not so fast, as Windfox is going for a fake flipper. I was gonna say to Hobo, but he's checking the island first. 3 bombs, so no value there.
I wonder if that look at the island before the play into Hobo is going to be a save and quit from Hobo rather than going on into the Zora area. Since this whole play, even Zora is out of logic at the moment with no glove and of course no flippers, so, maybe this is just, kind of get the one sight check out of the way, we can check the guy under the bridge while we're at it, and then we can go do things that are logical again.
But it looks like Windfox is setting up for the fake flipper out, and he gets it. That is a risky play, because if you overshoot into the loading zone, you soft walk.
Luckily, it's generally more difficult to overshoot than it is to undershoot, and if you undershoot, you just go back up onto the ledge and you get to try again.
Oh, let's just say I've done the overshoot, so it's definitely easier to do than one would think. With Moon Pearl also allows you to check the Waterfall Fairy, so I do like this sequence break here. One piece of heart and 20 rupees. Now, it's a good thing that did not fill a heart container, because that would have put Windfox right back into the swimming state.
That's usually more of a problem if you've come there with a water walk set up by the boots and don't have the Moon Pearl, because then you can't get back into your walking state and check the other chest.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a minor annoyance. Oh yeah, the Waterfall Fairy is putting bees in a bottle.
Well, you have to get rid of them somehow, right? Nobody wants to keep them.
And the Scam Fish is selling pieces of heart today. I'd say the Scam Fish got his heart broken by Rudo in a past lifetime. Because we all know Rudo's after Link, really, in terms of a love interest.
Now, I do think it's interesting that we just saw a great deal of nothing on all of those out-of-logic flipper checks. It'll be interesting to see when our runners get flippers later, since, at this point having 2 pendants on the board in the light world, one at least of Swamp and Ice is going to have to be a Crystal Dungeon. It'll be interesting to see how quickly our runners decide that they want to head there when the flippers finally do appear.
That's a good point. Now here's something that we have not seen a lot of between the two games yet, and that is divergence. As Windfox is heading for the desert area, Diego is heading for the eastern area.
That is an interesting bit of divergence. You know, Windfox going to go ahead and chase the early book, while Diego is going to avail himself instead of a little bit of density here. Finds the lamp and a glove, so...
Oh boy, this play could backfire on Windfox. I mean, it makes sense to pursue the book, but unfortunately, the randomizer decided to put a glove and a lamp inside of Sahasrala's closet. So as a result of that, unless there's a vanilla glove here, or a French vanilla glove, he's not going to be able to finish this if it isn't already boot locked.
And as he's making this check, we'll find out if he is boots locked here momentarily. Diego has decided that the play into Bolas Eastern Palace is the play to make. It may well be. We are kind of running low on locations at this point.
Well, that big key is a good sign in terms of not being boots locked, but it's not going to be a good sign for long, as that is a small key on the torch. So the dungeon for Diego is beatable, albeit out of logic. Still need the boots to come back, and that compass pretty much seals that Windfox is done here. Not able to get the big key, or rather the small key in the back, so no key stealing is going to be possible here. I think he's after that shield, which makes sense, because you can at least block arrows and rocks with it. And then with the progression of shields, later on, fireballs. No, doing a save and quit instead.
I wonder if he was considering scumming the key from the back.
Which he wouldn't have been able to do anyway without a glove.
Without the glove, right.
And there's Bloomerang for Diego. And when you play as many rando seeds as these runners do, brain farts can happen.
Particularly when it comes to gloves and or mitts, I feel like you just kind of operate under the assumption that you have them once you reach a certain time in the seed. And so you'll see people trying to pick up rocks that they can't actually lift, because normally you feel like you've got the gloves by now, so you ought to have the gloves now, right?
Wrong, that's because Link skipped leg day. Windfox is bailing on Eastern, not even heading in, which so far seems like the right play. He's heading for the mountain, and I like this play because this gives you everything possible outside of Hera. And it winds up being the right play. No, not yet, not yet. Back of escape. This makes sense because you couldn't go here earlier. Glove is the fast way of getting back here. Let's see what they miss. One piece of heart, 2 piece of heart, and 50 rupees. So they did not miss much in terms of value, but the pieces of heart do add up to heart containers, and that will help. So now this is definitely mountain here, no doubt.
And with the hook shot, at least our runners can get over there onto the eastern side where the actual density is.
Yeah, the density of being a total of 8 checks between Paradox Cave and Spiral Cave. You also get to look at what's at the back end of Hookshot Cave, but that is locked by a mixture of Moon Pearl bombs, Titan's mitts, and mirror. So that's just a lovely concoction right there.
Yeah, plus there are the 2 checks they can actually receive the item from, starting with this old man, and the site check up on top of Spectacle Rock if they want to head there first. One of the routing choices that I tend to make is when I don't have the hammer yet, I'll go up the left side first here. Because if the hammer is just in Spectacle Rock Cave, the punish for going around the other side first is pretty severe.
On the flip side, even if you don't have Mitz, it would still be best to head up this way anyway, because if Mitz is up here and you go east like I did once, you feel like you got burned and you're dead.
Yeah, even Mirror inside this cave does the same kind of thing. It's just a question of which items the runner happens to be missing in the seed in question. In this case, there are quite a few things that could have been bad, but, you know, those bombs are not any of them.
Yeah, if anything, those are the clusters of the Goron special crop. And I know Gorons aren't in this game, but this is Death Mountain where they live, so it makes sense to me. As Alraedris mentioned in chat, always better to head up first than head down, because in terms of bad finds, you minimize risks. Okay, Paradox Cave time. This cave is truly a mystery. Although Diego's gonna want to be careful because he's low on health. 2 heart containers in the bottom. That's gonna be great for Diego, considering his health situation.
Yeah, going to remove those health concerns almost immediately.
And there's a hammer. Guess what? We can do Hera now.
If they want to, it is
as
a
well as
dungeon.
go right into Dark World. I mean, you're already up here in the mountain, and you can get the ether tablets, so you might as well just clean up the whole thing right now.
Hera is that one dungeon that you always kind of hope is a crystal because it feels like unless you're playing spoiler, you never get to avoid it.
Or if you don't come up here onto the mountain and it is a pendant and you just happen to find everything else outside the dungeon, hit go mode, don't have to bother.
Windfox getting a little bullied by those dead rocks trying to see that 20 up there on Floating Island.
Yeah, unfortunately for our runners, dead rocks are bullies. There is a reason Dr. Bob-tastic did an a cappella song called Everybody Wants to Kill Those Squirrels, because quite frankly, those things piss me off! Just saying. That is a great pickup at the ether tablet. Our runners are doing a high five, and yes, that looked like silver arrows, but version 31 logic, those are progressive bows. So that one, even though it said silvers, is a bow. The next one's silvers. I promise, we didn't put them on planet Zebes this time.
That is kind of an interesting find from Windfox's perspective, having not gone to Green Pendant Eastern yet, and if I recall correctly, Diego went all the way to the Vanilla Big Key Chest where he found a dungeon item, so there should be something on the boss as well as that Green Pendant.
Now, Windfox is setting up for, and we got some slight divergence from a strategy perspective here. Windfox going for Harapot, Diego opting to climb up the intended way. Both are fine, but if you know how to do this with bombs, boom, Windfox gets it first try. So as a result, it's going to get up to floor 5 before Diego even gets up to floor 4.
It's a nice trick, it saves you about 10 or 15 seconds if you hit it the first try.
And worth noting, for those of you who run NMG, it's a rando only move. Oh! No items yet. That means the basement and the boss are going to have it, and Diego missed a bomb jump, so as a result has to fall down and come back up. Yeah, I'm not a fan of bomb jumping there as a result. But either way, we've still got value, even after we take out Moldorm, and Windfox is going in with the hammer, Hammer or Master Sword Spin are both 3 hits each. Oh, you almost... Oh boy, Windfox, you almost put yourself down to pit that time.
The very definition of living on the edge there.
Yeah, no kidding, this fight is living on the edge because Moldorm can knock you off so easily, and if he hits you down that center hole, you fall down. And it's a piece of heart from the boss. Will our runners go to Hera face? In Windfox's case, that is a no. I don't like this play because I have the type of luck of a person who, you miss a check like that, it has something.
You nope out of it, and it's the Titansmith.
No,
But both of our runners are going to do it.
Now, if our runners hit go mode and don't need to go back to Hera, then they lucked out. I mean, you still have Dark Death Mountain, I see that, but still, not something I like missing, because I know what my luck is not good. But that's just me.
And both of our runners going to be treated to not so much for this long, slow walk through Spiral Cave.
Long, slow walk, you might as well be playing Slow Ride by Foghat, because that's basically what it is. Now, Windfox is heading right for Hyde Cave. Now, our runners both went to Ether, so both runners got a bow off of that. And Skull Woods is the other pendant, with the 6 being in Meyer. So, this is not interesting. Pedestal is already in play within a half hour.
And even though the runners had that early book, we have not had a check yet, so it is kind of an open question what might be there.
Well, if you want health, Hype Cave is a good place to be.
Yeah, a few extra hearts is a nice added safety when you're still on green mail walking around the Dark World, where the damage tends to start at 2 hearts and go up from there.
Now Windfox is going directly to Pod, having everything needed to clear it. This makes sense. Oh, wait, not so fast. Probably heading to Pyramid.
Pyramid first is reasonable, but yeah, when you find that bow up on the mountain, it seems like a reasonable pointer over to that eastern area. It's just a question of whether you think it's light or dark.
I don't think anybody likes going to Pod without Mirror, to be honest. In fact, if I were to do Eastern, I would have done a save quit, do Eastern first, and then take the portal, but that's about as fast as you can make it.
So Windfox has that unfortunately useless knowledge of the 3 bombs on Pyramid, and has otherwise ceded the routing lead back to Diego. You know, it's just a handful of seconds at this point, but these are the swings that we're getting when Game 1 got decided by 24 seconds. Every second counts.
Ain't that the truth? Interestingly enough, this dungeon was not bow locked. It looks like a good bead from the earlier fairy. Oh, that could really sting.
So Diego is going to take that key, go right up the middle, check this ledge chest, you know, pretty classical routing, finds another key.
So this routing's gonna work out nicely.
When you don't have the mirror, it is nicer with the hammer like this. You can do the bowlock side last and hammer your way through to get into the back.
Yeah, but windfox is rolling the... I thought he was going to roll the Gamble-matic 9000, but is making better of it.
And if my eyes didn't deceive me, that was the compass in the vanilla big key chest?
Yep.
So a potential for one item here on the bowlock side for Diego. These two runners really do seem to have very similar inclinations when it comes to routing, though. They've done a lot of very similar things. You know, Diego made the eastern check, Windfox moved out of.
On the bowlock side of pod, that earlier bow on Ether Tablet is paying off huge.
And seeing that in the bowlock side may be what keeps Windfox from making a play into Eastern and handing that particular sunk time back.
Yeah, this seed just opened up considerably, because right now you get Dark Death Mountain all of. Bookshot Cave is basically a given now at this point if you head up. But you also have this whole lower bowl of the Dark World that is yet to be looked at. Besides, pod could still have a lot of value.
Entirely possible, you know, the glove puts Crystal Ice Palace in logic. You know, you've got the Fire Rod and Bombos, so plenty of ways to go about clearing that out.
Well, I mean, you don't have flippers, but that is part of the logic, is merely a suggestion. Oh yeah, we got a tempered sword in pod basement, and we didn't go up to 3 keys when we hit that corner, so Harmless Hellway is definitely a key. Now, what's great about tempered sword is that the difference in power between master and tempered very much apparent, to the point where it is the preferred NMG tool for finishing runs.
It makes much quicker work of quite a few enemies.
A number of bosses, too. Expecting Deathworks here from both Diego and eventually Windfox, because no mirror, they're gonna Deathwarp in pod at least once.
Because the alternative is walking out, and walking out is slow.
Unless you're a runner who happens to know how to hammer yump. Well, speaking of, is Windfox setting up for that?
I believe that he is, yes.
Probably try to see if he'd get the big key from the northeast corner, but... Okay, so for those not familiar, Hammer Yump is pixel perfect in terms of where his bomb is placed, plus the placement of the character, and he got it first try, but he doesn't have the big key, so he's gonna have to duck in here to grab it.
Yes, it is pixel perfect on the Y-axis for both placements. The X-axis you can be pretty much wherever you want.
I would certainly argue that it would seem slower.
It would certainly have been slower if the big key was there in the top left-hand chest. You may or may not have saved any time there doing it when it's in the bottom right.
Meanwhile, Diego has a turtle party break out on him because some of those slashes got eaten up by sword beams.
Every runner's dream is to have sword beams patched to work like they worked in Zelda 1.
I think all of us would love that, really. That's the Helmasaur King fight for Diego.
And with that, he's going to go ahead and put the first crystal of this match on the board just a little north of 39 minutes.
And plenty of progression options to choose from, I might add.
Most of them are even logical, although, you know, as I was saying earlier, that Ice Palace play could be on some people's minds. So we now have Diego walking back out from Palace of Darkness here, probably going to go ahead and make that check of the pyramid ledge, maybe going to follow it up with catfish. Could hook across the river at that point. I think we're less likely to see a similar play from Windfox simply because, well, he's already checked the pyramid. But we'll see. Hopefully we'll see an equally clean fight of the Helmasaur King from Windfox here. "17 hammer smacks the face, going to wait out that final hit for the fireball to appear because you can despawn it by the mask shattering animation. Good little trick to know. And Diego sees those bombs on Pyramid Ledge, and there is the save and quit. So Windfox will even up that crystal count just a minute and a half later. And we can see from Windfox's inputs heading for an immediate save and quit there as soon as he steps foot outside of the Palace of Darkness. And is going to go ahead and get right back on Diego's trail. Sanctuary looks like almost assuredly a play over to the village area. And chat, this is the moment that you all long for. I know that you do. You cannot tell me otherwise. Diego Armando is doing the thing. Yes, indeed, Rando fans of all ages, we have a pedestal check. And it's just Couch Cash. The dream dashed immediately. But fear not, Windfox is every bit as curious and is going to give us another ped check. Going to hand away a few bombs to that thief, but, you know, you still have 7. Yep, still Couch Cash. They have the same seed. Same seed confirmed. Here we go. A little safety there in the chest game, you know. I would think that most runners, particularly ones who are in this tournament rather than the main, particularly like to see blue mail. Red mail, maybe not on everybody's wish list, but blue makes things a whole lot easier. And to no surprise at all, Diego going to go ahead and head right on into Thieves Town. Crystal Dungeon, you have everything that you need to full clear it. You have the hammer, so you don't have to worry about leaving behind the big chest. No reason not to punch it out while you are right here. These two really have been very serious about following right on each other's footsteps. Hey, we can check this by when both of them enter the big key door to get into the back, but somewhere around 30 seconds is probably pretty accurate. Yeah, 44:05 on Diego's side. Maybe a little more than 30 seconds. But probably not much. No small key making an appearance yet, so our runners can yet hope that it's not going to appear and they can save themselves a check here. So 35 seconds difference heading into the back of Thieves Town. And again, just to reiterate, Game 1 decided by 24 seconds. Diego found the compass there in the attic chest. That is a chest in this dungeon that cannot contain the small key, so what we're going to see here is almost assuredly a small key in the cell or a self-locking small key in the big chest.
And either way, that means Blind is going to be holding something and not just a pawn.
So Leslie, where do you think our runners actually want to go from here? After this, they don't have access to Swamp, obviously, with no flippers and no mirror. The sequence break into ice is a possibility. You're not going to find the flippers there, of course. It's probably just more overworld checks. I mean, you can get up the mountain now that you have the Titan's Mitts and make a whole bunch of checks there.
What I was thinking is what was just brought up in chat. You do Skull Wood. If you go into Skull Woods, you can check the pedestal easily and determine if you need to finish that up. So that could potentially be something. And look out, Blind's got jokes. Ha ha ha. I think part of me inside just died a little.
Well, what we know is dead is the pedestal, because both of our runners went and checked it before they entered their Dark World portal at the village. Just couch cash and move right along.
Alright, so the pedestal was indeed bait, so we're looking at the potentially of something still being in Skullwoods. Which is possible still, even if you don't need the pedestal. At this point, I'm looking at Eastern/Green Pendant.
That was 47-16 for Diego's sword flourish after the crystal catch. We're trying to determine how close within 30 seconds these runners are because, well, you know, game 1 and all that. It looks like Windfox may have made up 2 or 3 seconds in Thieves Town.
And there's Canis Samaria. So now we've got an even more interesting proposition. Does Turtle Rock become a play if it's Bombos?
Given the things that our runners are still looking for in this seed, that seems not just plausible, but likely. And of course, nobody wants to go up there without the ice rod, but who's to say that the ice rod's not just in the place?
Or on the laser bridge, although probably the worst thing I've seen with Turtle Rock in recent memory is the book was on laser bridge, the ice rod was, no, the book was not laser bridge, it was Mimic Cave, so you needed the mirror, and that book led right to the ice rod on the ether tablet. It seemed to be rather gross. Now, we know Windfox is actually not doing a bad play here because he's going to the dig game, then doing the stuff in the Dark World Blacksmith area. We'll see how it all plays out. Now, the only fake flipper for water checks we've seen to this point is Hobo into Zora's Domain. It's a big 20, and our runners are leaving at just about the same time here.
And they're both going to say no to Mirrorless Smiths.
That is a play that I'm okay with saying no to, because Mirrorless Smith is just no discussion. Well, I guess now Turtle Rock really becomes a play because, well, let's just say Stumpy was chilling on the stump with the ice rod.
Yeah, expecting to see either Bombos as the entry requirement or the entry requirement medallion being in Hookshot or Super Bunny here, because the game is very clearly funneling our runners towards TR right now.
Unfortunately for Diego, getting dead rocked on the mountain has allowed Windfox to pull ahead a bit on the route.
It's another one of those sudden reversals of fortune between two runners who are very close in skill and very close in what they want to do routing-wise.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure right now Diego wishes he had something that could deal with those squirrels, but no dice. Yeah, Diego went to Hammer Pegs as a standalone check. Windfox did not, went right for the dig game.
Maybe the idea was to leave it for later in case you wind up having to do the Smith sequence after all. You have something else that's actually a halfway decent check time-wise to help draw you in that direction.
It is not Bombos, it is Ether, so our runner's play into Turtle Rock is, for now, rejected!
I will be very surprised not to see the key under the doormat in one of these 6 chests, however.
Or something that leads to it. Such as those flippers. So now Ice Palace is in logic.
So of course we'll see Hookshot Cave next here.
Might also see a Spike Cave on this route. We do have Cane of Burna, so that does give us what we need to power through. And there's, speaking of stuff to power through, how about a Magic Cave, a Fairy in a Bottle, just more stuff to go through Spike Cave. Although, to be fair, I'd rather save that Fairy for later, when we actually need it.
It kind of depends. If you want to make the play into ice right after this, burning the fairy rather than the magic might make a whole lot of sense to our runners, being on normal magic.
Well, we do have a bit of divergence here, as Windfox is going for Spike Cave. Diego has bailed, so this could be a game changer. Now, without boots, hookshot's going to be your optimal way of getting across a lot of this particular cave because you can attach onto the torches for movement. And it's just 20 rupees, so unfortunately, Windfox strikes out on that check.
It has been interesting to see the points at which Windfox wants to be a little more thorough, and then he chose to bypass that hammer pegs check, which Diego made.
But in that instance, it worked out for Windfox. Now, on the flip side, it worked out for Diego to skip Spike Cave. But with all these one-off checks that are getting left behind by both runners, one has to wonder, when does the runners go back for those?
That is one of the tricks of routing. When do I come back to this if I do not do it now?
And now we get our runners in Ice Palace. Are we setting up for a switch before Icebreaker or a bomb jump? This looks to be an Icebreaker play out of Diego.
I think in a lot of cases it's more of a comfort thing to hit that switch even if you're not go-moding with Icebreaker.
First try, nicely done. Gets a mushroom now. This is interesting, because not only do we have access to the traditional turn-in, we now can fake powder at Magic Bat, which could potentially be a thing. I have seen a couple of races won because one runner decided to do the fake powder and the other said no.
This version of the lineup for Icebreaker that Windfox is doing, the first section of it, I have no idea what the actual lineup runners who do that are using is. I look at it and I think, this doesn't make any sense to the way that I do this trick.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Hey, to be fair, it doesn't make sense to me either, so don't feel bad about it.
And Diego was trying to line up a bomb jump there to get over to Ice-T a little more quickly, and instead fell down the hole. So going to have to walk the long way around.
Which is unfortunately one of the trade-offs for hitting that switch, is that in the event you have to go to Ice-T, it's a long way around. Missed the switch the first time around, so I had to go back. And speaking of Ice-T, Windfox taking a more direct route to it. There's the big key in Ice-T. Both our runners getting it around the same time, too. Virtually in sync, mostly because Windfox opened the door already, while Diego had yet to open the door.
And because Diego had checked the double freeze ore chest here, which Windfox is only now going to check. For all of a plate of nachos. Maybe he got hungry.
Somebody in chat said what I was thinking. Now we get into Cold Stare, which, with Bombos, is a much faster fight.
Lets you save some magic for Fire Rod if you really need it, but, you know, the Tempered Sword tends to do the trick here. As long as you don't let Cold Stare out of the corner, which Diego has done.
Whoa, double play on the puffs for a sec. I thought he was about to take damage.
Got a little spooky action there with the splash damage on his Fire Rod shot and managed to hit 2 of them.
Just a big 20, but more importantly, the dungeon is done for both runners with a difference of, wait for it, Diego having the longer fill-up time, 58:40, to 58:45, yeah, 5 seconds. Yeah, this is going to be really close down the stretch, folks.
Is anybody surprised? And the only thing they found in there of any consequence at all was that mushroom.
So has unleashed the B-Torp. I believe we are getting a turn-in from both runners. Yeah, the medallion for Meyer is a huge factor here. We also technically need boots for desert. By logic. Two slightly different routes exiting this particular room. And Windfox gets there a second sooner, and it's a reset from Windfox as well as Diego. I would be led to believe this is for a fake powder because that mushroom was only for a big 20.
It's more valuable as a potential fake powder for them than that big 20 when they're sitting at 707 and 999 rupees on Windfox's side, threatening to go over the 1,000 mark.
It's interesting to note that in the vanilla game, your rupee counter caps at 999.
Now here's an interesting play on Windfox's side. As the bow has already gotten something off of it in those bow-locked mitts in Palace of Darkness, but is now heading directly for Green Pendant Eastern, where he does not know, but we do, that there is one item on the boss in addition to that green pendant, and Diego's already seen everything else. Getting back here is going to most likely be a last location for him.
Yeah, when it comes down to single one-off checks, that's when things start to get last location and hard last location. As a runner, that is the most frustrating thing that can happen. One item down in Pendant Skull Woods, a heart container.
And from Diego's perspective, this is the better density play because he had 2 items here. Well, maybe not actually. You know, Eastern is maybe a longer walk, so that's kind of the difference, but he knows that the item's on the boss, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which I would actually do, whether I would want to double down on my Eastern play here versus making the play to Skull Woods.
Especially since Skull Woods was just 5 rupees in a heart container. We've already seen both items, and since both runners have already checked pedestal, there is absolutely 0 reason to hang around here. Now, interestingly enough, with that cape, if our runners haven't checked Bumper Ledge, that could be something that Diego tries for, whether it's anything or not, we shall see. That's exactly what he's doing. Play made sense, but it was only 10 arrows.
Yep, not looking for the stick refill at the moment.
Not even needing it either.
With that, we may be looking at the Mirrorless Smith's play on Diego's side now. And unless I missed it, Windfox has decided to rush the boss and has not gone to the Vanilla Big Key chest, which was one of the dungeon items, so it'll work out for him.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy, and in this case, we know it's going to work out for him. As I do see Diego going mirrorless Smiths, this is likely a play to combine into fake powder, which, from a routing standpoint, does make sense. Although if either of them have the mirror, that's just going to feel dirty.
As the saying goes, sometimes the mirror is just on purple chest. One of those rando truisms like there's always a sword in swamp.
Or Mitts in Swamp back in version 29. And the boss is a big 20, but more importantly, the green pendant is also one more item. While the Smith gives us a heart container.
And Diego did dump that full bar of magic. We will see the fake powder play here. One of the oh so many ways in which Cane of Samaria is the most busted item in the game. If you have no magic in your bar, you can attempt to use Cane of Samaria. And then swap over to either the mushroom or the powder. Yes, you can fake powder with powder. And just start spamming that Y button out of the item menu, and shock and amazement, you'll powder.
And green pendant was the red mail, so there was value there, just not the value we need.
That is an interesting little bit of added safety, but, you know, not really progressing the seed in any meaningful sense. So, what do you think we are actually going to see off the purple chest here, which I think is our actual last location at the moment? Is it just... Ah, yes, chat pointing out catfish. Catfish could in fact be a thing. Well, everybody knows there's nothing in Hera Basement. Let's not bring logic into this.
And
Ooh,
the
and
other
there's
Greg was locked
yeah.
away in the purple chest.
So we'll get the bootsless desert play from Diego here, maybe. Obviously going to check Akina, but we'll see if he decides to carry on through. Given the limited number of locations remaining, I think it makes a lot of sense from his perspective. So, you know, we're about an hour in, and as our runners are going to go ahead and retrace each other's footsteps here, this is a good opportunity to remind everybody, if you like the show that these runners are putting on, by all means, go give them a follow, show them a little love on their own channels. Diego Armando and Windfox put on a great show. They put on a great show in Game 1. Game 2 has lived up to the billing. They have been close all the way through. My co-commentator, of course, is Leslie Pro04. Our trackers today are Slowpoke and T Yonge Yonge. I'm almost assuredly not saying that right, but we'll get correction later. And Siberian, of course, who put together the restream and is taking care of the technical details on the back end. Thank you all so much. Alright, likes TJ going forward. We'll go with that.
And Windfox opting for the back of Skull, which unfortunately isn't going to yield anything because well, actually, no, not so fast.
Apparently just wanted that full magic refill after having dumped the magic bar for fake powder. Good game knowledge that it's tucked away there. Also, as Siberian has those links to the tournament and the ZSR discords there, I will note anybody who thinks, hey, I can talk about this game and enjoy doing so, or hey, I could push some buttons and make icons appear on the tracker. This is an all-volunteer force. By all means, more volunteers are welcome. It helps us get more restreams off the ground, and you are very much welcome.
Diego is doing what Windfox could not do earlier. Head for the back. Is this going to be a key steal or a play for the boss? Boss play.
That can be interesting. I have seen a couple of seeds in my history where Desert was soft boots locked like this, logically boots locked, but not actually required to get to the boss. And I've had opponents go looking around in GT for boots to get a big key off of the torch when they couldn't possibly have been there because they were logically required ages and ages ago to clear Desert Palace. So it's one of those things that a runner needs to bear in mind when you make this particular sequence break. This is giving you information on where the boots can and cannot be in the seed.
Well, one thing's for sure, they cannot be here.
Diego going ahead with the Tempered Sword spin and slash strats on Lanmo makes a lot of sense given the item loadout and the relative lack of magic there. Fire Rod shot's not really an option to him. But that does put his fourth crystal on the board at 1 hour 10 minutes and change, taking a crystal lead once again, albeit however brief it might be.
So at this point, it's just Catfish and Hera Basement. So I think it has to be one of those two.
They're both kind of gross checks at this point. They're both reasonably out of the way and pretty much orphaned. Now,
Yep.
Diego did not do the Spike Cave check, so he does have a little more to draw him up towards Hera if that is the play, but if it's on Catfish, neither of our runners have anything else leading them in that direction. You just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Yep, sometimes that's what you have to do.
And at this point, I think our runners are going to be sweating it no matter where whatever the progression item is that they're going to find next shows up, because they know that they've last located it, and as a runner, you always feel like, no, I last located this, but my opponent probably didn't, right? So I'm behind.
Yeah, and if it's Hera Basement, they're going to feel way behind.
This is the danger of not committing to your plays independent dungeons.
Unfortunately, we cannot get to the Mamba's tablet, so we have not been able to check that.
It looks like windfox is going to be the first of the two runners who actually gets to start making a new check here. It'll be interesting to see which of them he decides to head for.
Yeah, at this point it's a coin flip and neither one is in close proximity to where he's going to be, so it'll be interesting to see which one he picks.
It's that green singleton rupee, not doing anybody any good. Looks like he's going to go ahead and clear out desert here.
Yeah, he's going back to desert. He's either going for the crystal or he's going to be stealing the key. Which we know, based off what we saw from Diego, one of the two items is on the right side. We know it cannot be boots or anything that leads to boots.
Yeah, given the way the seed is laid out, the play to the boss makes a lot more logical sense here.
Even though, to be fair, this seed has been rough on our runners. Let's see what pops up. If it's Hera Basement, then it's a case of not committing to the pennant. If it's Catfish, with how this seed was laid out, ooh, that'd be rude.
And there is Diego's red mail, and with this play into Desert Palace, windfox has ceded that advantage of what are you going to check first to Diego, who is choosing the mountain. From Diego's perspective, this is a density play. He left Spike Cave alone earlier, so there are two items here rather than one.
So I'd say we're about a minute away from seeing something new. Wait, not so fast, because Diego's going Spike Cave first. I would have thought Hera Basement first, then Spike Cave, just for the simple reason that you don't have mirror, you can't get up there this way. And as a result, you'd be able to do Hera Basement into Spike Cave. But that's just me. But yes, it is a long walk. But you don't have to climb. Oh, windfox missed the last fire rod shot, so it'll have to be a spin to finish it off. And he does. And it looks like we're getting a catfish play out of Diego. Question is, where does windfox go from here? Back to Hera or to catfish?
This is the choice. If he chooses Catfish, no matter what, he's going to be seconds behind Diego. If he chooses Hera, one of our runners has a fairly substantial lead on their hands.
Windfox thought about Mountain Cave, but instead, that might have been a missed menu, so yeah, that would happen.
So, both of our runners have indeed chosen to last locate Hera Basement.
At this point, both having progression would just be the dirtiest option. I know chat likes stuff like that, but as a runner, nah.
That would be interesting, although I don't know that there's all that much you can find here that keeps you out of the other location, at least in something that resembles the near future.
It is Hera Basement! This is why, folks, this is why you commit to your pennant dungeons. And chat is in agreement with me. Never skip Hera Basement. And I think part of it might be because I'm on commentary and I have that type of luck to where you skip something like Hera Basement, it has an item. But the question is, what will that item be? If it's Ether, it's off to Turtle Rock. If it's Boots, you have Bonk Rocks, you have King's Tomb, you also have the east side of Desert, which would be a triple dip for one runner and a double dip for the other. And thankfully, Diego got a peek at that item. Otherwise, that would have been another case of getting dead rocked.
Counting from the time that they saw the catfish item, we have about a 50-second gap at the moment. It's been shrinking sometimes, increasing others. We've seen more than a handful of lead changes already. Everything we were expecting after Game 1 is coming true.
And Diego is ready for the coffee break, but is setting up for what will be a death warp afterwards, although in reality, it's just a saving. Wait a minute, not doing coffee. This is interesting.
May have initially decided, I want to have the coffee break, and then decided, nah, you know what, I'm alright, really.
Sometimes what runners will do is use coffee break as a means to step away for a moment, say go to the bathroom, for example, get a drink.
Yeah, I tend to use those for hydration breaks myself. And there is Ether in Hera Basement, so yes, the seed was pointing you at Turtle Rock 40 minutes ago. You were just not supposed to skip Hera Basement.
But here's the problem with trying to death warp when you have a fairy in your inventory. The fairy revives you! So, unfortunately, that plan just backfired on Diego.
The fairy always wins.
So as a result, Diego got trolled and had to walk out of the dungeon anyway. And windfox just gives that the... Oh, no, do not save and quit. Your next play is Hera. There is no arguing it. There is no other option. There is no denying it. You have to go to Turtle Rock as your next play, as Diego is getting the business from the Dead Rocks.
It really is crazy just how early this seed was pointing at Turtle Rock, though. If they had done Hera Basement on their trip up here, it was supposed to be their next logical play.
And at this point, it's a question of where will it go from here? Like, if the flute shows up, the next play definitely becomes Meyer. But if the mirror shows up, then Swamp Palace is probably it. If both show up, you're in Schrodinger's Go mode, needing only the boots. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Now, Diego did not get the quick fire on the hook shot, so has to wait a bit to hook shot another torch, and then step off. Now, pain of not having boots here is you don't get to do a swag dash, which is one of my personal favorite things to do. Oh, watch your step there, Windfox!
Getting a little more help than he had bargained for from that Bari.
Chad has it right. Afterpod TR was the seed's plan, but our runners just did not commit to Hera Basement. And that's the takeaway right now.
Because when they got up there, they had everything else, but they only had the Bombos medallion, so we were speculating at the time, well, are we just going to see a Bombos entry requirement, or do we have a key under the doormat? And, well, it was under the interdimensional doormat, just tucked away in Error Basement.
Yeah,
Like Rando does sometimes.
like Rando does. Indeed. Now, the Chain Chomp room had the Quake medallion, so when it comes down to time for Misery Mire, we're not going to have to worry about the question of what medallion will it be, because hey, we're covered.
It is one less thing to worry about. You know that you need to find Flute and Mirror, and logically the boots have to be tucked away out here somewhere.
You know the boots cannot be on Pyramid Fairy. The mirror can still be, however.
Windfox taking this Chain Chomp room very slowly and carefully.
I don't blame him because... Oh, and he's getting the troll end. One of the Chain Chomps is just camping right in his path. How rude!
They had quite the staring contest before finally the blue cane came out.
Mire isn't just a crystal, it's a 560. Red pendant was the top of Harris, so we definitely have that information confirmed.
Yeah, that James guy is unfortunately giving me a little good-natured ribbing there. I mismarked the Misery Mire as a crystal in my race last night, and full cleared it for half magic. So, spent 5 minutes, lost by 3.5. Wouldn't you know it?
Well, I lost by 10.5 on routing and would have had a double triple at Agatu, but I got blue balled. Oh, there's the mirror! At this point, knowing that you exited the dungeon and came back in where you would typically mirror, I'm surprised Diego didn't mirror to clear that one check out, although this may be a case of feeling behind.
It definitely could be, but you feel terrible when you leave that behind and it is the item you're looking for. I've had that happen more often than I'd like to count.
Yeah, let's just say I don't care. What rando you play, you last location something once in a seed, you feel like shit and it messes with you.
So, Diego, first onto Laser Bridge, doesn't seem to have found much for the trouble so far, obviously looking for the small key that's going to allow access to the boss.
Here's chest number 3. And a rupee horde for his trouble. Probably not the time he wants to see that, but cool, we take it.
Will be interesting to see what Windfox does once this mirror appears out of the chest.
Thinking about it. There's the same thing. I'm worried about this particular play only because it would be a while to get back here if they hadn't done it right then and there. I mean, yeah, you lose about a half minute, but in reality, to get back here, it's more like a minute and a half, so... Part of me doesn't like how this looks, I will admit.
Especially right after you got done hard last locating the access requirement for this dungeon somewhere else on the mountain. You have nothing else left on the mountain. How do you ever come back for this check?
Flat out, you don't. Meaning the time to have done it was literally the moment they picked it up. Watch it when Fox might... Oh, has a fairy still.
May want to go down and avail himself of safety door at this point. Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, even with a fairy at low health, this is a safety door situation. And Diego is heading directly for Swamp Palace, which, considering the density versus what the mirror opens up in the overworld, is a play that makes a lot of sense. Because you have to go here anyway, you get a half dozen items, and if it is a mirror spot on the overworld, whoops! Watch that step, Windfox, it's a doozy, and now your fairy's gonna come into play.
I was thinking that it was possible that we could see a Bombos check and or a K45 check with the mirror before this, just in case you hit your nominal go mode finding flute in one of those, because getting to go mode swamp feels really good.
Yeah, go mode swamp is a lot of fun.
But also, if our runners are keeping the logic in mind, they know that the boots are tucked away somewhere and might just not want to bypass those.
Yeah, chat bringing up a couple of nasty potential combinations for how this seed could play out. I mean, for all, maybe best case scenario for our runners is that Mimic Cave is nothing but a big 20. Or silver arrows, which would mean they both have to do silverless Ganon, but both runners can do it.
Well, Kasten, I think you're down to just flute at this point. We have some boots there in Swamp Palace.
First check boots and swamp. Now, yeah, I can see where the seat's playing out. Now, right side desert could potentially have something, because you got mirror checks, Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb. Yeah, it's got some overworld stuff as a result of this.
And flute in the southern loop. Alright, well, that does the thing, doesn't it?
Yep, that is it. Your go mode is in Swamp Palace, and Diego has gonna have about a minute of an advantage. It's not over yet, folks, as it can still come down to left or right Ganon's tower. And yeah, nothing in Mimic Cave this time, but after that miss of being thorough, I would have thought it would have been a case of keep going. And Windfox is gonna do a K45 check before Swamp. We know that's not gonna be it, but if it's silvers, then that gives him a bit of an edge, but it's not, it's just arrows.
Sticks, unfortunately, a little less interesting than he might have been hoping for. Windfox doing essentially exactly what I was speculating might happen that Diego decided against, and, well, you know, this time the play worked in Diego's favor. Rando gonna rando.
One cycle phase 2, and that's it. Now we'll be off to the village, to Kakariko to activate the flute, get over there, do the mire area, and get crystal number 7.
Yep, we've got Diego with that save and quit just a little after 1 hour 33. As Windfox is only now draining the dam here so that he can get into Swamp Palace. GT routing absolutely could change things. Game 1 hinged on a Ganon death, so by no means is this over just because Windfox is a little behind at the moment. Misery Mire and Vitreous may yet have a part to play in this as well.
There's the boots from Windfox. And with that flute, Diego's now going to be taking off from Mire, no doubt. No, making a potion stop. This is a fair play here.
This is the time to do it. You lay in your stock of safeties just in case anything gets a little squirrel-handed on you in Misery Mire. And, you know, hopefully it doesn't, and then you can just make your mountain climb.
You're more like your last mountain climb with how this seed is going. And Bombos was needed, all right, but to enter Misery Mire, so that Bombos means we're going to have an offing of a roasted bird instead of a frozen one. I hope they like it charbroiled.
Yeah, everybody likes a little fried chicken in their life, right?
That's go mode for Windfox 135.16. Good Mire 2 from Diego. Gets it done nicely.
Windfox having a little trouble here with the Stiver down setup.
Gets it. On the third try. Now, the small key early in the map chest. Probably gonna be seeing Diego head for the spike chest next. That's what, well, it's what most runners do, although I've seen some variation. Not opening the waterfall chest, which makes sense. It's nothing of consequence. Spike chest had another small key, so with 3 small keys, now comes the question of Mire. How do you route it from here? Do you go fire locked, or do you avoid it and hope the big key isn't there?
Personally, I tend to go Northern Firelocked and then just come back out and hope that it's in one of the remaining 2 checks. But there are a lot of options.
Going firelock to the north, that is what's normally there. That's exactly what he's doing. He's hoping it's not vanilla, so if it turns out vanilla and Windfox goes for that, he can make up some, well, a pretty significant chunk of time here. Well, but you can't knock what Diego just found. Half magic, an A+ luxury item.
That plus the cape makes Ganon, even silverless with the Tempered Sword, pretty free.
Big key was in the chest south of the spike room. So while a faster route to it technically exists, it's not as much of a time save, and Windfox can still lose time if he decides to go for the cutscene chest, which is where the big key is in vanilla.
This is the part where we'll have to wait and see. He is definitely behind, but this is his chance to start trying to hunt his opponent down.
Also, we've got ourselves A free bird for Windfox.
And we see the cape come out for Diego now that that half magic is in play. Some dash or some spin strats with that cape equipped to make sure that you take no damage. This fight becomes really, really easy to do.
NMG strat is risky because you are walking in the goo, you are taking damage, but the spins do cut through those eyeballs so easily with Tempered.
And then the traditional 8 sticks into the main eyeball. The shovel pops out. I doubt we're going to see that checked now. Not at this late date.
Shovel is probably going to be used to bury this seed 6 feet under. Meanwhile, we got 7 crystals. Y'all know what time it is.
It is, in fact, that time, as Diego is going to go ahead and make this final climb up the mountain. We'll see if he wants to go for the old-fashioned enter at Turtle Rock or the newfangled use your quick swap and do some hook shot and mirror delete blocks in the Super Bunny Cave, which is maybe very nominally faster, but it definitely guarantees that you are less in danger of being dead rocked, which a lot of runners really like.
And speaking of dead rock, Diego just took damage by bonking off of one. With his face, which you do not want to do. Just ask any baseball player who has been hit by the baseball in the face, either off a bad hop or being hit by a pitch. That hurts.
There is Windfox's half magic. Does not seem to be in the mood to... No, now he's going to go ahead and do Firelocked after all.
And to further that point in chat, I can think of somebody who had their career ruined by such a play. Comebacker basically wound up ending Bryce Fleury's career about 20 years ago. Never forget that one.
So Windfox is making exactly the same kind of play that Diego made, going to try and avoid the cutscene just at all cost, which is the right play, the way the items were laid out here.
Well, there's our last sword, and it was number 2. The Hope Room had the answer.
Very nearly a god GT, but still needs to pick up a small key. That 20 on the torch is not the thing he's looking for, but he can steal the one under this pot, and the climb can begin at 1 hour 42 minutes flat for Diego Armando.
Right now, this is definitely Diego's race to lose. It would have to take some sort of execution, or even despawning the top of Ganon's tower, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Meanwhile, an Ice Rod shot is fired by Windfox. This sets up for the spooky glitch.
And it looks like there was the effect there. Yep, there he definitely has it in room 2.
Yeah, so he made up a small amount of time on Diego there by doing spooky action.
It's another one of those tricks that's in the 10 to 15 second range, which is nice, but at this point he needs a minute or so.
Yeah, at this point he needs something rather sizable. I don't think dashing through these eyeballs is going to be enough. Holy shit. And it's worth noting that for every 2 slashes into Vitreous's eyeball, 1 less arrow. So, as a result, Windfox was able to finish the boss and run out of arrows. So Windfox is going to need to find arrows before climbing GT.
That is a rough spot to be in, given that big key location. You know, if it happened to be late, you might just stumble upon a tin drop in a chest somewhere, but it's not going to be a thing here. It's just sitting there in Hope Room.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be against fluting over exactly what Windfox is doing, and I was just about to mention it. The arrow upgrades in version 31 can be purchased where you would get them in the vanilla game inside of this particular cave. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head because it's been so long since it's come up. But you can purchase your capacity upgrades here. Plus, those capacity upgrades give you a full refill.
You'll more often see that with players going into Ice Palace and not having not having enough bombs in their mind, and not having the red cane and needing to do the Ice Palace bomb jump. The bomb refill there can come in pretty handy.
Also, sometimes a runner that has to the seed is basically calling for Fighter Sword Vitreous, they might opt to purchase an arrow upgrade or 2 before heading that way. Quite frankly, I wouldn't blame them.
And we see just how fast this God GT is, because blink and you miss it, Diego Armando is already at Moldorm 2, couple of dash pokes, and down goes the worm.
So this time, the worm is not the finishing maneuver that we're looking for.
And he's going to turn his nose right up at the ultimate chest of the game, says, got no time for that, I have a race to win.
After a hard last location of the Ether Medallion, I don't blame him. But now here's... oh, this is not a pleasant Aga 2 pattern whatsoever. That looked to be one of those patterns where you just take the double that's given to you. That's just me. Ooh, and we're getting a lot of blue balls from this, because that's 2 already. And a 4-cycle finish, and Diego is on his way. And Windfox is thinking of going left first. This is the only way this even saves a remote amount of time is if silver arrows are in the first 4 chests.
That would save him some time, but at this point it's not going to save him nearly enough, I don't think. He needs an error on Diego's part to even this one back up. A late stage Ganon fall probably being the likely one of those, since Diego has at least a couple of blue goos in the bottle.
Has the same swords so that Diego will stow. Now we get into the climb for Windfox, as Diego is in phase 3 of the Ganon fight.
Seems to be a mildly warpy Ganon so far, hasn't been too bad. Yeah, a couple of warps I think was the most for any one section of phase 3. The silver arrows in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, we are not getting those today because Swamp Palace was our go mode dungeon. They were left side swamp, which is just... yeah, that's kind of gross. that point, it's not even worth going for, because the time is basically even exchange unless you include Vitreous. In which case you gain, what, 10, 15 seconds?
Somewhere around there, yeah. Windfox now into the gauntlet proper, going to use some fire rod, some butter sword. Put paid to most of these things pretty quickly, but not going to be quickly enough as Diego is very rapidly approaching the end of his Ganon fight.
And unfortunately, those Beamos aren't destroyable. That would be something that I'd love to see patched in, because those Beamos are absolutely annoying. But what is not annoying is getting your bacon, as down goes Ganon for Diego Armando. Get your GGs in chat. That was a heck of a race. It was very close all the way through to the end, similar to Game 1. But with that, Diego is moving on with an official racetime.gg time of 1:49:28.
And we were joined by the runners.
Hi, GG Windfox.
GG Diego, nice job.
That was a seed that was very close all throughout. One of the big differences is when it came down to it, Diego dove right into Swamp Palace. But before that, I gotta back it up a bit. You both abandoned Hera Basement. You both last locationed the Ether Medallion. Yeah, there's a reason I don't like abandoning that, because the one time you do, it has something. But that's just me.
Yes, was very bad. Ether was in Era basement. I was thinking nothing will be here. I don't come back here till last location.
That was my exact thoughts as well. I was just like, if there's something there, I'm gonna last locate it and lose. Because I hate that check.
I don't think anybody likes that check, although to be fair, some of the checks you made are checks that I hate even more, like Mirrorless Smith Chain. I have a history with that, so that's just me.
Yeah. Sometimes I have a mirror in the Smith chain, so I think that means appear very early. I think mirror will be here maybe.
Yeah, I last locationed a mirror once in that scenario. That was fun. Not.
Regardless of the final time here, we were measuring the difference between you two, and there were a number of lead changes, usually in the range of 20 to 30 seconds throughout the vast majority of this race. It was really well run by both of you. I think you guys both put on a great show. I'm really hopeful that everybody who was watching enjoyed it, because, you know, even regardless of the last location of Ether, it was a very good display of two runners who are good at the game.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of how yesterday went. I'm not gonna spoil it, but we finished less than 30 seconds of each other. So if you haven't watched Game 1, go watch it. It was a less than 30 second difference between the two of us. So it makes sense that the times would be that close again.
And you two had very similar ideas of routing. There were a great many times where you were making exactly the same check at exactly the same time. The routes, while not identical, were as close as you could possibly expect. And I know that some of it was simply that the early game was kind of linear, but there were options, and a lot of times when you guys had the options, you still picked the same one.
That was so funny, if I can see. but in my mind it was go to crystals and complete it and check all the checks in the row.
Yeah, it sounds like Diego and I pretty much played very similar, at least have the same mentality when we play. Complete dungeons first, then check overworld if nothing comes of the dungeons, which is pretty much how we played yesterday too. Yeah, it sounds like just Diego and I played very, very similar. Pretty much routed the same 2 days in a row. I was hoping to push it to game 3, which would have been starting in about 20 minutes, but that's not happening.
Well, we'll still say good game to you because you did make it all the way to brackets.
Yeah, that was just my goal, make it to brackets. After that, everything else after that was gravy.
I hear you there, Windfox, and I must say, compared to where you started when you first started playing Z3R, you have come a long way. And right now, I dare say, keep it up, and you're going to be taking on some of the best in the coming year, I bet.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've only been playing for a little over a year now, so.
There's still plenty of room to grow.
Oh yeah.
And Diego, we'll go ahead and say congratulations. You have punched your ticket on to the next round. Probably should pull up the challenge here really quick. You will go on to face the winner of Cantos versus the winner of the round 1 matchup between Pool Float and Little Miss Arcade. So it seems like you have a little while yet before you have more matches coming up, but we will say good luck to you when they come around.
Yes, thank you so much for that, and thank you Winfall for these 2 games. It was very funny and very entertaining.
I'm sure you'll go really deep, Diego. Like, you're a really solid runner. I'm sure you'll do really well.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed this year, especially with Challenge Cup. The quality of the runners is getting better and better. It's tougher to make brackets now, so you really got to step your game up. And I feel like the runners that made it to the brackets are all really good. So if you ask me, just about anybody could come out with this, with the championship. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Good luck in the next round, Diego, and Windfox. Good luck in the future, because I know you're going to keep on crushing it.
That's the goal.
Okay, then I think if there are no further questions, we can wrap this up.
Absolutely. I'll just say thank you everybody for coming out, giving us a couple of hours of your time this afternoon, this evening, whatever it was for you. Go ahead and give the runners a follow. Siberian's got those links in chat for you. Windfox, Diego Armando both put on a great show for you today. I have, of course, been my DM. Siberian did the technical work behind the scenes. Leslie Pro was my co-com. TJ and Slowpoke doing the tracking, pushing the buttons, since, of course, with QuickSwap in the mix now, we don't always get to see the menu as often as we might like. So thank you to everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed. Please have a great rest of your day. Have a good one from me. Leslie, if you've got any final thoughts, please feel free to share them.
Well, thanks for having me on ZSR. Hopefully I'll be back here to do one of these again real soon. Who knows when that'll be, because life commitments and all of that. And yeah, I'm also in this tournament too. Got a match on Friday. Will it be here? Will it be elsewhere? Who knows? But with that being said, this was a great match and a great series. Follow both runners as well as the comms and everybody behind the scenes. So with that said, stay safe, take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you next time. Take care, y'all.
And just before we raid over to another Challenge Cup match that's going, that's restreamed right now over at Nordic Randomizer. We just a quick look out on our schedule here on ZSR. Today at 9 PM Eastern we have the Zelda 2 Randomizer weekly race, and then the next one scheduled is on Friday 9 PM Eastern, a Twilight Princess any percent tournament match. In case we pick some of the other Challenge Cup matches, check our schedule. They will be added as soon as we organize the restreams. And now, thank you very much for watching. See you next time here on ZSR.